Let's talk about 3 things I did wrong when I was writing my first novel. I'm Alex. I write young adult and new adult fantasy and science fiction novels, and I'm currently on submission with 2 books. So let's be real, I did more than only 3 things wrong when I was writing my first novel, but these are probably the 3 biggest things that held me back from being ready to query. First and foremost, I did not know nearly as much as I should have about story structure. I'm not saying you have to be an expert in story structure to write a novel. In fact, there are people out there who write novels with no idea what story structure probably even is, I'm sure. But for me, this was something that held me back really far. I was an English major in college, and I have been reading my whole life, so I wasn't totally hopeless. I knew that character arcs needed to happen. I knew that emotional beats needed to happen, but I had no idea how to structure them in a way that made the reading experience as smooth as possible for my audience. I'd say that was probably the biggest thing that I did that made it necessary for me to rewrite my novel from scratch 5 different times in order to finally nail the pacing of it. The second thing I did wrong was that I did not add nearly enough world building to my second world fantasy novel. In some ways, this was not the end of the world. I was still able to query my book and still got really good feedback on it despite not having enough world building, but I think it did hold my novel back from being the best it absolutely could be. My characters were really well developed, and that was huge. That was most of what I needed to take care of anyway. But adding world building, as I've gone back and done it over and over again to finally flesh out the novel, really helped take it up another step. And by the time I was done with it, I felt like I'd created a whole new product. I said product, but what I meant was book. Last but not least, for my first novel, I did not have nearly enough beta readers before I started trying to query this novel. Beta readers, for those who don't know, are people who agree to read your book and give you feedback based on what they read. Beta readers are not the end-all be-all, and not every beta reader is going to get your story the way you do, so it's important to be careful with who you're asking to read your story. Still, for me, I think I had maybe 1 beta reader who told me my book was good and I was willing to take their feedback and run with it, and I got too impatient and decided to query too soon. I am out of time, so I will do another video about beta reading soon. Essentially, learning how to develop these aspects of my writing has absolutely changed my process for the better.